G'day mates! In today's video, I want to kick off talking about today's secret update that brought back the burst rifle into every playlist, including competitive. The shockwave hammer is already unvaulted, and we saw the glider redeploy perk disabled. I also want to talk about what's going on with late game cash cups, because I think they're going to be brought back very, very soon. And I want to talk about the changes that were just made to how qualifying to elite works on NA. And I think this might be a bad sign. We just had a major LAN event potentially cancelled. There's a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into it. Fortnite just announced the big international LAN event taking place at the end of this year with 3 FNCS majors as the qualifier to get there and a total of a $10 million prize pool. I'm actually going to make a video tomorrow detailing how this whole format works, my thoughts on it, getting hype going for it, but I already recorded today's video with how I record my videos, so I want to let you know that video is coming, but it's going to be tomorrow. Let's kick off talking about the secret part of today's update. We had the burst rifle re-added into Fortnite in all game modes, including competitive. And there was no leaks about this, no words of this. Even when Epic talked about what was coming out in the update, they didn't make it sound like there was going to be anything new at all. So when I logged in this morning and saw the FAMAS, I was freaking out. But I do have to add, it is not the burst rifle with the scope. It is, unfortunately or fortunately, if you like it, the FAMAS. So it's the old Chapter 2 burst. It shoots 2 bullets and it has no scope at all rarities. So from green, gray, all the way up to gold, it is just the FAMAS. It never turns into the AUG, which is the one with the scope. And honestly, I was never really a huge fan of this gun. I don't know what place in the loot pool it's going to have. It's not as good as the red eye at getting surge, but it's also not as good as the pistol or SMG for like keying and fighting in boxes. Maybe it's kind of like the middle ground. You can use it for surge and get long range damage, but then also won't be as bad as the red eye when it comes to box fighting. So maybe that'll be its advantage. I'm not really a huge fan of this trend of guns in Fortnite not upgrading at purple and gold, because I keep being told the purple and gold rarities feel really good and the bloom is like non-existent, same way that the purple and the gold scars feel way better. I kind of want to go back to when weapons upgraded so they were a different type of gun at purple and gold, because then they felt significantly different and you'd give them a chance like they were different. This new trend of weapons just being the same for all rarities just always has me kind of wondering, is it good or did I just get lucky? Is it really that different or does it just do more damage? I never really know. The next and only real change in the update was we had the shockwave hammers added back into the game. They were only out of the game for like 24 hours. They said they'd fix them, but I regret to inform you that you still have the fall damage bug. You still have the stuttering bug where you can't move properly. You still have the glitch where you can infinitely fish with it. The only thing they really did fix was the infinite hammer glitch. In case you missed it, that's why it was vaulted. There was a glitch which I did know about, but I avoided making content on because I knew that it would take Epic a while to fix it, or I thought it would take them more than a day, and I didn't want a lot of people abusing it. But basically, it was a glitch where if you hammered at the right time going into water, you could then infinitely hammer for the rest of the game. And this was obviously super broken, but I wanted to point out, if you don't like the hammers in Fortnite right now, I feel like you're just gonna have to get used to them, because I don't think they're going anywhere. I've never seen Epic so obsessed with a weapon like the hammer. We had 3 major glitches, one of which will get you killed, and we also had 2 game-breaking bugs, and it was only when one of them got so popular that pubs were basically unplayable that they vaulted the weapon and they fixed it within 24 hours and then put it back in the game. Fortnite really wants the shockwave hammer in the game, whether you like it or not. Now, this wasn't part of the update, but did happen later in the day. We now have the aerialist or glider redeploy perk disabled in all game modes. It looks like it's due to this bug here that Lacey highlighted. I don't know if you could do this before consistently with any other gun, but it looks like you can definitely do it with the new burst rifle. I would have this bug happen occasionally where I would kind of just move around, and it was honestly crazy for rotations. As this started to get a bit of traction, it looks like Fortnite did disable the perk. So again, like the hammers, they do want aerialist in the game clearly, but they're just going to take it out until they fix this bug. We had our first late game tournament today in what feels like forever. It was actually announced with only an hour until it started. It was a late game quick cup evaluation and it was only on EU, but some very exciting news out of this. The points worked. So the reason why we haven't had late game cash cups, as far as I'm aware, is because they've had a problem counting up points to then be able to distribute the money to players. Obviously, if you don't have a functioning leaderboard, if people's points aren't counting properly, you can't run a tournament for money. But they tested it today. I actually played in it with Leshy and Savid. Despite being on almost 200 ping, it was so much fun, but the points did count. People's points were counting correctly. Whenever you went into game, it said you had 0, but then when you left, your points were accurate. So if that's good enough for Fortnite, because they can obviously now pay people accordingly, I feel like we will potentially have the late game cash cups back in the game very, very soon. There's been a lot of talk around what's going on with NA East and NA West. Are the regions combining? Are we going to get a LAN event? And most of this stemmed from the fact that every single region had 200 duos qualify from the placement cup straight into elite. But NA East and NA West only had 100. And this had a lot of people confused on what this meant or why. This was also around the same time that we just had Amazon AWS servers added in central United States. So Fortnite could make a central region if they wanted to. I talked about this, but it started to look like that wasn't going to happen. I then thought maybe it was because there's like some kind of NA based LAN event, like the first regional LAN event rather than an international event. But now we've got another new change, which just has me even more confused, despite only having 100 duos go through the placement cup, which caused a whole bunch of issues for the elite cups. The queues were terrible. You only had 2 lobbies at a time. A lot of pro teams were seeing in like 80 minutes of queues in a 3-hour tournament. We now have Fortnite status tweeting out, we're temporarily increasing the number of duos that advance from Challenger to Elite divisions in NA East and NA West regions. 27 duos in NA West and 37 duos in NA East will advance from Challenger to Elite per session. So if you don't know what that means, basically now with the 3 divisions you have in competitive Fortnite, you have Contender at the bottom, Challenger in the middle, and then Elite is the very top. You now have more players making it from the Challenger division up into Elite to make up for the amount of players who didn't make it through the placement cup. But why? I'm so confused. I can't imagine this being a good thing. This kind of scares me that they did have a plan. Maybe it was a regional based LAN event and now they've had to cancel something like that. I don't know. I am basing this off just me trying to find some kind of logic in what is a very confusing situation. We were told we were going to get some kind of blog post in January explaining how FNCS is going to work because it starts in February. We already got that in another blog post. So if you imagine it's like even mid-February, that's still only a month away, so we really need a heads up on what's going on here. And I feel like this is one of the first changes leading into that. This means there are going to be more teams on NA playing in FNCS because apparently you're only going to need to be in Elite division to play in FNCS. I really hope they bring that down to Challenger or even Contender, or just like they used to, let anyone play in FNCS who's champs or Contender. Apparently FNCS is going to last 5 weeks long. That's one of the other things we know about FNCS. 5 weeks is more than enough time to then get everyone from like, let's say 2 or 5 or 7,000 arena points down to the top 50 duos. That is more than enough time where everyone will still get a chance to compete and try and enjoy FNCS, but you'll still get the best 50 duos at the end. At this point, we're going to be going into FNCS with only about 300 duos in most of the regions, and then it's going to take 5 weeks to get from 300 duos to 50. That seems like way too long. I mean, I love FNCS. I love watching it. It's great, but I feel like that's just going to kind of drag out. We used to have only 3 weeks to get from anyone in champs to then 50. And now it's only going to be 5 weeks to get from 300 to 50. I just don't really know what's going on here. I'm sorry. Usually in my videos, I like to make things more clear, not more confusing, but I thought I'd cover this as it is a major change, but I don't get what it means. Hopefully we understand soon. All right, guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.